Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at OKLO. It is time for another update, and on this chart we are tracking a larger structure that would be developing in a 5-wave pattern where we have a 1-2 setup that has formed in this area, and now we are looking for a large wave 3 in which we are looking to reach the ideal target at the 138.2% extension of the wave 1 around the $480 level. Now, within this structure to the upside, we can still track it both as an impulse and as a diagonal structure, and which is unfortunate. It would be nice to be able to track a clear impulse that would be developing in this area, but at this point, it is kind of even between these two scenarios, which would really end up developing, where either we are tracking to the upside in this area an ABC pattern. Now, if this really is happening in this structure, it is likely that it would end up being a larger ABC, unfolding in the end to complete this larger wave 3 and reach the ideal target within the wave 3. But if we manage to create something as we have here in the blue scenario, it could be really a double 1-2-1-2 setup in this area, and now we could already be towards the end of the larger wave 3 to the upside. Now, for this to really be the case, we do need to reach the ideal target in the third wave, the $300 level, around the $300 level, at the 138.2% extension of the wave 1. Now, it is possible to reach this within the fifth wave that would still be expected within this structure to the upside. It is a bit far, but it is possible to reach it. Now, with this said, we would expect now to hold certain levels for this uptrend to still be alive, and those are represented here by the white support zone. So if we manage to break below the 50% retracement here, it is quite a great warning sign that this pattern is actually complete, and we may be looking at the larger A wave already complete, where I don't need to necessarily consider this the A wave top. I could consider it here. This could have been the wave B bottom, and this could have been the wave C to the upside complete. And in that case, we could be looking at a quite deep retracement, right? And in that case, I would be looking at an area of support, a general area of support that would really only start, actually not even there, this is for a wave 4, and that would be between the $77 level all the way down to the $29.3 level. So failing to hold this area of support would have quite heavy implications that further downside is extremely likely, and we could head quite deep into this correction, and quite in a sharp manner. Corrections after a diagonal structure are usually quite sharp. Not always, but it is common for them to be quite sharp, and we could push quite fast, quite deep into this area of support. Now, we don't need to worry about this too much at this point because we are still well within this area of support. We are heading towards the 50% retracement, it seems, but we also have quite strong structural support in this area. And even if we get there, and even if it doesn't hold in the end, it is likely that if we reach the 50% retracement around the $109 level, that we get at least some sort of a relief rally. And if we don't manage to create a clear 5-wave structure to the upside and we get something like an ABC, we will know to maybe use a stop loss and maybe even place it in profits. That would be nice to be able to do. But at this point, internally, within this correction that we are tracking here in the wave 4, I would prefer to get another low. I would have a more complete structure. Now, internally, I have been tracking this as something like an ABC pattern to the downside, and within the wave C, I have had a couple of different options that we were tracking. Now, we invalidated the orange interpretation where we were looking for a couple more 4-5 patterns to complete this correction, but it seems we are still within the green scenario. We got held back by the 61.8% retracement, and we do still have a chance to form another low in this area. Now, if we manage to break above that level, I would be open to even considering a bottom in this area. Now, keep in mind, this is an impulse forming to the upside, and this correction in the wave 4 doesn't really need to unfold in a certain way. It could end up being an ABC pattern in this way, or a WXY maybe fits better. but it could also end up being something like a triangle that could go sideways for a while before breaking out in a fifth wave to the upside. So yeah, while we are tracking a possible breakout even at this point, yeah, it is possible for us to have already a bottom, especially since I am able to count this structure to the upside as a 5-wave move. I am also prepared for the different ways this 4th wave could unfold. Now, internally within this structure, as I was mentioning, as long as we stay below the 61.8% retracement, we could still be looking for an additional low. But as I also just mentioned a moment ago, we do have a possible 1, 2, 3, 4th, and the 5th complete to the upside. And in this case, I would already start tracking a possible 1, 2 setup in this area, where I would be looking for support in the area between the $132 level all the way down to the $120 level. And for this idea, I would also like to track a possible, I would like to track a count here. Now, we need to be aware this could end up being just an ABC to the upside, but a continuation higher is still likely at this point. Now, I'm not saying it will work guaranteed. There is no guarantees really here. Now, we did find so far structural support in this area. Yeah, we did have also here quite strong support, but it seems that also to the downside we might have a small 5-wave structure if we look here on the 5-minute time frame. Now keep in mind it is on an extremely small time frame, so these aren't necessarily the most reliable. I am prepared even in this area to consider a possible bottom, but yeah, let's use the orange since we also deleted that already. But in this case, I would be open for something like an ABC structure that could still unfold to the downside. And in this case, yeah, we could see a reset here within the wave 2, but from the larger time frame perspective, this could still be the 4th wave in green that has stopped here, and we could be in the 5th wave to the downside, where we are expecting a larger ABC to find a bottom and yeah, complete the pattern. But for now, we do have a certain levels of resistance that we are watching. Yeah, also the 61.8% retracement, but also here for the wave B between the $135 level all the way up to the $142 level. And as long as those hold, we are looking with pretty good likelihood, at least here on the small, very, very tiny time frame, the nano time frame in this case, for an additional low for a likely reset here within this wave 2 in white. And yeah, if we manage to hold the 78.6% retracement here in white, we are looking for another possible high. So even if from a larger time frame perspective we haven't necessarily reached the ideal target, the perfect entry as I would call this, yeah, the 50% retracement also very much in confluence with these very strong levels of structural support, we may have a small 1-2 setup in this area that could still prove useful for an entry. Yeah, since we may not even get to the 50% retracement in the end, we do have an opportunity for an entry in this area right now. And for now, these are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.